Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Natalie, also known as Cosmic Crochet here online. Today I'm bringing you a tutorial for the retro cardigan. This tutorial features the granny stitch and also includes the option for bell sleeves because I know all of my subscribers love the bell sleeves just as much as I do. For this tutorial, I'm going to use 100 grams of 24/7 cotton. That is 4 skeins, as each skein is 100 grams. And I predict that I will have a little bit left over after this, after making a size medium cardigan. For this project, I'm going to be using a 5mm crochet hook, and you'll also need a tapestry needle to sew the project together and to weave in your ends. First, we will get started on the back panel. For the back panel, you need to chain up a multiple of 4 that reaches from shoulder to shoulder. I just created a chain of 52 chains, and this is how it lays on my body. You can see that it slightly is wrapping around my shoulder. To begin row 1, work 2 double crochets in the 4th chain from your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 double crochets in that 4th chain. The chains that were skipped count as the first double crochet. So this is our first granny stitch 3 double crochet cluster. Now chain 1. Now skip 3 stitches and work 3 double crochets in the 4th stitch. 1, 2, 3. Now in the 4th stitch, 3 double crochets. This is 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1 and repeat the same thing again. Skip 3, 3. Now into the 4th, work 3 double crochets. You will continue following these instructions until you reach the end of the row. I just worked my second to last cluster and now I have 4 open stitches left. So I'm going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, and into the last, work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And that completes row 1. Row 2, chain 3. This counts as a double crochet plus a chain 1, and turn your work. In this first chain 1 space, work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space from the previous row, work 3 double crochets. 2, 3. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space from the previous row, work 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. Continue this all the way down the row. I'll meet you back here to close out row 2 together. Closing out row 2, work in this last chain 1 space, 3 double crochets, and 3. Chain 1. You're going to skip over these first 2 double crochets, and in the top chain of the skipped chains from the previous row, we're going to work 1 double crochet. So skip, skip, double crochet in this very last stitch. This is how the end of the row looks. And you can see it's symmetrical with the start of the row, having the 2 chains and then the chain 1 space. The 2 chains make up the double crochet, and then the 3rd chain is the chain 1 space. So you can see how that looks compared to the end of the row. For row 3, chain 2 and turn your work. In this first chain 1 space, work 2 double crochets. The chain 2 acts as your first double crochet, so that's why you only need 2 in this space. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space from the previous row, work 3 double crochets. 2 and 3. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space, work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, and you're just going to continue this until you reach the end of the row, and I will come back to close out row 3 together. To close out row 3, I'm just going to work 3 double crochets in this last chain 1 space. Alternate between the instructions provided for row 2 and row 3 until the back panel reaches your desired length. Once I finish my back panel, I will come back and show you how it looks up against my body so you know when to stop creating rows for your back panel. I just finished my back panel and I ended up making a total of 31 rows for my back panel, and now I'm going to show you how it looks held up against my body. I'm going to hold it up at the top of my shoulders, and I like when it lays right above my pant line, so this is the perfect length for me. As you are creating the back panel, just continue to hold it up to your body to see how long you want it to be. Once you finish your back panel, it will be time to start on the front panels. Once you finish the back panel, it's time to start working on the front panel. Your starting chain for the front panel is going to be roughly half the amount of starting chains that you had for this back panel. I had 52 chains for the back panel, and 52 divided by 2 is 26. 26 is not a multiple of 4, so I'm going to round up to 28 because that is a multiple of 4. Figure out your starting chain for the front panel. Divide the starting chain of the back panel by 2. Then round to the nearest number that is divisible by 4. I would recommend rounding up rather than rounding down. The front panel is going to start exactly the same as the back panel. Prepare your double crochet with a yarn over, and in the 4th chain from your hook, work 2 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 double crochets in this stitch. Chain 1, skip 3 stitches, and in the 4th, work 3 double crochets. Chain 1, and just continue repeating this until you reach the end of the row. Now you're going to create rows following the instructions provided for rows 2 and 3 on the back panel until it is time to decrease. When we decrease, we'll create that V shape for the neckline. The best way to know when to start decreasing is to use the back panel as a guide, and I'm going to show you how. Hold the back panel up to your front once again and see where you would like the V-neck to start. This is where the project will tie in the front. I think I would like my V-neck to start right here. So now what I'm going to do is count how many rows I need from the bottom until I get to this point right here. And that's going to tell me how many rows to create on the front panel before I start decreasing. So I just finished counting my back panel, and that was row 23, where I decided that I want to start decreasing. So again, hold it up, decide where you want the V-neck line to start, and then count from the bottom up. And then that will tell you how many rows to make before you need to start decreasing. I'm gonna go ahead and make 22 more rows for my front panel and then come back and show you how to start decreasing. I got to my stopping point on my front panel before I'm going to start decreasing, so now it's time to decrease our front panels together. When you start decreasing, you want to make sure that your decreases start on an even number row. So this row that I just completed was row 23, and that's an odd number row. So just make sure that the end of your row looks like this with 3 double crochets into the chain 1 space. To begin the first row of decreases, no chain is necessary to start the row. Simply turn your work. And in these first 3 double crochet stitches, we're going to work 1 slip stitch in each stitch. Now we're going to slip stitch into the chain 1 space and chain up 2. This chain 2 is going to act as our first double crochet, and we're going to add 2 more double crochets into that same chain 1 space. You can see that we've eliminated this first double crochet cluster, and we've moved our first cluster over here. Chain 1, in the next chain 1 space, work normally 3 double crochets, and you're just going to finish out the rest of the row as normal. And now we're going to close out the row as normal, skipping over these 2 double crochets, and then in the top chain working 1 double crochet. Row 2 of decreases, chain 2, and turn your work into the first chain 1 space, work 2 double crochets. Now chain 1, and continue on with the remainder of the row as normal, and we will decrease again at the end of the row by eliminating the last cluster of 3 double crochets. You can see now that I'm at the last chain 1 space of the row. I'm going to work 3 double crochets in that chain 1 space. And I'm going to stop the row there. So you can see we have these decreases that almost look like stairs. For row 3, we're going to decrease again at the beginning of the row, turn the work, slip stitch in the first 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch 1 more time into this chain 1 space. Chain up 2. Now work 2 double crochets in this chain 1 space. Finish off the rest of the row as normal. And at the end of the row, work 1 double crochet into this top chain of the chain 2 from the previous row. You can see that we're only decreasing on one side. We're leaving this other side normal with no decreases and only decreasing on this one side. Continue following the instructions that I've provided for decreasing at the beginning and at the end of every row until you reach the same amount of rows as the back panel. I will probably decrease 2 or 3 more times and then complete the remainder of my rows with no decreases. So I will show you what that looks like once I finish decreasing. You want to have at least 3 double crochet clusters for the shoulder. So I will decrease until I get to this point here. And then if I have remaining rows, I will just build those with no decreases. I just completed 31 rows and I ended up having 3 double crochet clusters for my last row. So that's fine. And I didn't end up needing to do any normal rows, but I am gonna show you what it would look like if you were to do a normal row for this instead of another decrease. Just say you already got to 3 clusters and you still have 2 or 3 more rows to go. This is what you'll do for those remaining rows. So after this, working into the last chain 1 space, you would just chain 1 and work a double crochet into this top chain of the chain 2 from the previous row. So you would work the row as normal instead of doing a decrease, just like that. This is what my front panel looks like after finishing all of my decreases. And now I'm going to chain 1, cut my work, and secure it with a knot. When I cut a tail, I like to leave it a little bit longer than normal. That way I can use it to seam the shoulders together. And usually how I'll measure that is just making the tail 1.5 times the length of the part that I'm seaming. And this is how the front panel looks when it's laying up against my body. You can see that we have this V-neck shape. So now it's time to make a second front panel in exactly the same way. I'm gonna go ahead and make my second front panel off camera, and then I will come back to sew the project together, and then we will start working on the sleeves. Now it's time to sew the front panels to the back panel. First, start by laying out your back panel. And then you're gonna lay your front panel on top of it. You can see that the decreases are facing each other. We will first sew the shoulders together. I'm going to thread my tapestry needle. And remember, we left a long tail at the end of this front panel so that then we could use it to sew it to the back panel. So I have 3 clusters on the front panel, and I will work into the 3 clusters on the back panel. I'm going to insert my needle first in this stitch, the last stitch of this 3rd cluster. Now I'm going to take my needle and insert it towards me in the coordinating stitch on the front panel. So this is going to be the very first stitch on the front panel. And pull through. Now on the back panel, I'm going to insert my needle facing away from me and pull through, and I inserted that in the next available stitch. Now in the next available stitch on the front panel, I'm going to insert my needle towards myself and pull through. In the next available stitch on the back panel, I'm going to insert my needle away from me and pull through. And now on the next available stitch on the front panel, I'm going to insert my needle towards myself and pull through. This is how it looks so far. And now what I'm going to do is pull it tight to close up the seam. And I'm going to keep going. It's time to insert into the back panel, away from myself, and in the front panel towards myself. And I'm just going to continue doing this. This is called the mattress stitch, and it is my preferred method of joining panels together. To close off, pull it tight and work into the very last stitch, which will be a chain 2 on both sides. Pull through, and on the front panel, pull that tight. Make sure that it's not cinched. It's still laying nice and flat. I'm going to insert my needle in any loop I can find that is nearby. Pull through, leaving a loop. I'm going to insert my needle 2 times in the same direction. 1 and 2. And now I'm going to pull tight to make a knot. Repeat that once more to join the second front panel to the back panel. Now that the front panels have been joined to the back panel, try the project on. Using the same technique that I showed you for sewing the shoulders together, sew the sides together from the bottom up to the stopping point, leaving a large enough opening for your arm to comfortably fit through. This should be right under your armpit. Now that I've sewn the sides, this is how the cardigan looks. And eventually we will add ties to close off the front. But I just want to show you how it looks on the side. You can see I sewed up, leaving a hole large enough for my arm to fit through. And now it's time to get started on the sleeves. Taking a look at the sleeve opening, you can see this intersection where the front and the back panels join. This is the part that lays right underneath your armpit. You're gonna insert your hook right there, make a slip knot and place it on your hook. Now just pull through and chain 2. In that same space, work 2 double crochets. Chain 1. You can see here that we have our cluster and then we have this chain 1 space. We're gonna work 3 double crochets in this chain 1 space. It's not technically a chain 1 space because that would be up here. This is technically the side of the stitch. However, I will just be calling it the chain 1 space. 3 double crochets, just like we have been in every other chain 1 space. Chain 1, and in this next space, 3 double crochets. Chain 1, 3 double crochets in the next space. And we are just going to repeat that, going all the way around the sleeve. Once you get to the shoulders, you might have 2 double crochet clusters right next to each other. So what you'll do is just work at the intersection of the front and the back panels up here at the shoulders. You'll work your 3 double crochets in that intersection. Just like that, and then chain 1 and work normally into the next chain 1 space. I'm working in my last chain 1 space, working my 3 double crochets. Once you've worked into the last chain 1 space, chain 1, and now we're going to slip stitch into the top chain of this chain 2 from the start of this row. Row 2, chain 2, and turn your work. In this first chain 1 space right here, work 2 double crochets. Chain 1, work 3 double crochets in the next chain 1 space, and continue going around the sleeve working 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space from the previous row. Closing out row 2, working 3 double crochets into this last chain 1 space. Chain 1 and slip stitch into the top chain of the chain 2 from the start of this row. Continue repeating the instructions provided for row 2 until the sleeve reaches your elbow. At that point, it will be time to start working some increases to make the sleeves bell sleeves. Now that the sleeve has reached my elbow, it's time to start working some increases to get the bell sleeve look. If you don't want to add bell sleeves, you can continue creating rows until the sleeve reaches your desired length. Begin the row like normal, chain 2 and turn your work. In the first 4 chain 1 spaces, we're going to work normally, and then into the 5th chain 1 space, we will work an increase. I've worked normally into the first 4 chain 1 spaces, and now it's time to work an increase in the 5th chain 1 space. To work an increase, we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, all in the same space. So there's my 3, chain 1, and 3 more in the same chain 1 space. Chain 1, and work normally into the next 4 stitches. Into the 5th, work another increase. Complete 2 rows with no increases, and then we will come back to increase on every 7th stitch. When you're working the row after an increase, you'll work into this chain 1 space. I just wanted to clarify that in case it was confusing for anybody. So you'll work your 3 double crochets into this chain 1 space that was in the increase. And then just move on to the next chain 1 space. So it's just like normal, you just have an extra chain 1 space thrown in there. We increased on every 5th stitch and then completed 2 normal rows with no increases, and now we're going to increase on every 7th. Working 2 double crochets into this first chain 1 space and 3 double crochets into the next 5 chain 1 spaces to make a total of 6. On the 7th chain 1 space, we're going to work an increase. And on the 7th stitch, 3 double crochets, chain 1, and then 3 more double crochets all in that same stitch. Chain 1, work normally into the next 6 stitches, and on the 7th, increase again. My increase is on this last, so my 7th stitch of the pattern is on this last chain 1 space of the row. If you're not able to work 2 increases on this row, that's okay if you only have 1. But I will work my last increase on this last chain 1 space. And as a reminder, it's 3 double crochets, chain 1, and 3 more double crochets. I'm going to chain 1 and slip stitch into this top chain of the starting chain 2 of the row. Now complete 2 rows normally with no increases, and I will meet you back here for our 3rd increase row. After completing 2 rows with no increases, it's time to work another increase row, increasing on every 9th stitch. To get to the width that you desire before reaching your desired length, then you can stop creating increase rows and just create normal rows with 3 double crochets in each chain 1 space. But if you would like your sleeve to continue getting wider, you'll increase on this row on every 9th chain 1 space, and then complete 2 normal rows, and then you will increase on every 11th chain 1 space, and then 2 normal rows, and then every 13th chain 1 space, etc., until you reach your desired width and length. Now that the sleeve is my desired length, I'm going to chain 1, cut my work, and secure it with a knot. And here's how my sleeve looks now that it's finished. Go ahead and create your second sleeve in the same way that you created your first sleeve. Then come back to the tutorial and we will add the finishing touches by adding the ties to the front of the cardigan. I finished my second sleeve, so now it's time to add the ties in the front. The first place we're going to be adding a tie is on this first decrease row. We're going to add 1 tie on either side. Insert your hook in this first stitch of the first decrease row. And place a slip knot on your hook. Pull through. And now we're gonna create a chain that is long enough to tie in the front. I like to chain about 50. I just chained 45. And now we're gonna work 1 slip stitch in these back loops. So you can see if you hold the stitch like this, you see the V shape. If you flip it over, you get these back loops. And I'm just going to work 1 slip stitch in each back loop, all the way down the chain. I'm almost back to the start of my chain, so let's close this off together. I'm working in my last stitch right now. And now I'm going to work 1 slip stitch into this space right here on the front panel where this chain is attached to. So just going back into this space with a slip stitch. Chain 1, cut your work and secure it with a knot. Now it is time to create another tie on the other front panel in the exact same way. And that concludes the retro cardigan crochet tutorial. I hope that you love this design as much as I do. I'm so excited to share this with all of you. I love seeing all of your recreations of my designs, so feel free to send me photos or tag me on Instagram at Cosmic Crochet with the extra C in the middle. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow and it allows me to continue posting these free tutorials. I love sharing my designs with all of you, and I hope that you have a beautiful day or night wherever you are enjoying your new cardigan.